Good morning, happy solstice, and welcome to Hell Wath in Ripon. Before we get started, this is what we were doing at 5 a.m. See, Angus does not want to get up. Yes. Happy solstice. Come here today and you'll find mostly dog walkers and some lovely trees, but back in World War One, 1914 to 1918, it was filled with around 42,000 men, about 2,000 wooden hut structures here, and over the course of the war there was about 1.5 million men that passed through these training grounds. So easy to forget when you're out with the dog, but this place holds a lot of history. Not only is it incredibly beautiful and is now home to over 400 species of wildlife. Doing Gussie. Wilfred Owen was a famous World War One poet, and he composed some poems all about the utter destruction and devastation and callousness and horrific nature of World War One, which are still famous today. You may remember the famous line, "Gas, gas, quick boys," in which he depicts the terrible conditions of the trenches. And if you imagine in those 2,000 odd huts laid out here, all the men preparing to go, they had no idea of the horror, of the destruction, of the death that was going to be facing them when they went away to fight. And so here he was, Wilfred Owen, preparing to go to war. And interestingly, he's so famous today, but most of his works were composed in 1 year. He died in 1918, just a week before the armistice. But his work lives on. I'm going to read you Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen, written in 1917, just a year before he died. Here we go. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf, even the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas, gas, quick boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling around like a floundering man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate joy the old lie, dulce et decorum est. And dulce et decorum est means it is sweet and proper, meaning it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. I'll let you take your own conclusions from that poem as we move more towards the structure to commemorate the soldiers of the First World War. But of course, it wasn't just Wilfred Owen that came here. Young men from across the country, 1.5 million young men, came here across the course of its time. And they learnt to march, they learnt to shoot, they learnt to survive, they learnt to prepare themselves for what was about to come. But remember, they thought, we're going to be back by Christmas. This is all just a fun, exciting, jolly, staying in our huts around here with not just 40,000 men, but also 10,000 horses. Now you can see here the soldiers are wearing the traditional World War I tin hat that they famously put over the top of the trenches to look upon enemies. That wasn't going to protect them from much at all. Just a simple tin hat was all that they had to protect them all those years ago. But it is very interesting because this place holds a lot of history, and you think, what must it have been like to be in here with your friends in your huts, chattering, having a laugh, having a joke, having a smoke maybe of the pipe, which is upside down on this, I think. Practicing your bayonet, preparing your kit, carrying your water, saying goodbye to your loved one to prepare for war. What must that have been like? And it all happened here in Ripon. It's easy to think of the cathedral, it's easy to think of York, that's very close by, and lots of history there, but the conversations that will have gone here, the fear, the trepidation, the poems that later came from the famous Wilfred Owen, all started here in this still place. Angus. The big thing that I struggled to get my head around is that they didn't know. They thought that it would be over by Christmas. They didn't know about the horror. They didn't know about the destruction. And what was even the point of the war? It's a lovely sun, Angus. Wath is Old Norse, Old Viking language. And it means flat stone ford. But before it was a World War I camp, just before World War I, this was agricultural land. And I believe it was farmed by the same people who owned Fountains Abbey at the time. First time Angus saw that structure, that statue from World War I, and he barked at it. Now he's used to it. As we make our way down the steps, the smell of wild garlic greets the nose. The sound of the swooshing river. Such tranquility before such destruction. Angus loves to go swimming in the River Skell. Yes. No, not jumping off. Good boy. Loves to throw balls in the River Skell. So what I could do is throw one from here. Good boy. Good boy. River Skell was very important in the Industrial Revolution. Powered a lot of the mills that are further down the river, or were further down the river. It's interesting, that constant flow we see now as tranquility, but they saw as energy and harnessed it. Working on, we had a great session with the dog trainer yesterday. Working with, ready, I'm going for a long one now. Working on him giving the ball up. Behaviourist, I should say. Good boy, Angus. Good boy. Good boy. All right. teaching him that he doesn't need to guard it. We did one session, and the difference after just the one session was incredible. Good boy. You can see now, if I come in and stroke him, good boy. He thinks that I want the ball, but I'm just trying to teach him. Good boy. Stroke. Don't want the ball. And then hopefully gives it up of his own fruition. Fruition? Amazing progress. Good boy. Well done. Girl can go very high and very low within a matter of hours. Originates about 2 miles from Patey Bridge. There's a little robin up there. And if you know about robins, they are not often scared of humans. Some people say they're very spiritual animals. Maybe appear after the death of a loved one. Stay close. Build a relationship. But there's something about robins. So here, it explains a little bit about Wath. So here it was saying about the 42,000 soldiers that I was talking about and 100,000 horses. That means that over the course of its construction, there was 1.5 million soldiers overall. The River Skell is home to otters, fish and birds like dippers and kingfishers. I've never seen a kingfisher here before, but look at this picture. These men. Now that really is a brilliant picture. See little tents? So along with the tents there were some wooden structures as well. You can see behind there they've got the bayonets, practicing with the bayonets. Shaking hands there, are they? Are those gloves? He's got the mallet out. He's got a plate with some bread. Is that? Some bread? And they didn't know. They didn't have a clue. Look into their eyes. Young men. I mean, they don't look like they're on a holiday camp, let's just put it that way, do they? They don't look too happy. Their uniforms sprawled upon the side. Is that bread there? I'm very intrigued. Looks like he's actually holding that with a bayonet. I wonder what happened to those 5 men. It says here, soldiers from the West Yorkshire Regiment outside one of the hundreds of tents that form part of the Ripon Army camp in the First World Wars. The soldier on the left is wearing boxing gloves. I did wonder if they were boxing gloves. Okay. So it says here, follow the circular Wath nature trail. Explore more. So let's talk about the fairy steps now. See the power of nature, the stillness of nature, but also the power that they harness. The power of the mills. So behind we have the stone steps which are said to be put in for the artillery so that they could transport the artillery up. And there's little grooves, if you look, on the sides, which allowed them to be able to place the wheels and then push up. This was apparently put in during the construction of the camp and is now known as the fairy steps. We'll find out why. I didn't, to be honest. I started looking into it, but it's a World War I camp.
Yeah, I know these were put in for the fairy tanks, aren't there? That's why they're called fairy steps.
Is that what it is? The fairy
Yeah.
tanks?
Yeah.
Ah, I didn't know that. 'Cause I've read about the grooves either side.
Yeah.
So it's fairy tanks.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, look that up.
And then when you go up the top, you work along there's a dam, and I think that was to do with the canal.
Right.
The Skelbrook Dam.
Ah, interesting. Wath.
Yeah.
I've been calling it Hell Wath.
No, Wath.
Hell what? Yeah, so...
Wath. South Yorkshire.
Right, we'll go with it. We'll edit it out. But that's interesting about the tanks. Thank you for that.
There is a book on there. A local person has written about the history of this.
Oh, right.
It's called, during the war, we all the army camp here.
To it, Alistair, anyway. Take care.
If you walk a bit later, you'll see all the people, you might know a bit more history.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go and have a look at that sign. So I'd look at that one. There's a nice picture on there. But I don't really know too much. I just like to research bits and then walk through. You're never going to believe it. You know, I just said that I've never seen a kingfisher down here. I've just seen one. I didn't get it on camera. So we are traversing now across this log, which Angus and I actually do very often. So it was just around here. There it is! Was that a kingfisher or a dragonfly? Anyway, I was just speaking to a local fella, and so they can use his voice audio. He was telling me a bit more about the history. Apparently I've been pronouncing it wrong. I think he was saying El Wath. I think he said that's the West Yorkshire way. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go with it. So Angus has lost his ball, and it was an expensive one. This is not an original part of the river, that gentleman was just saying. He was saying that they dammed it off up here for the canal, the Ripon Canal. The River Skell does feed the Ripon Canal, which is why there's sometimes problems. Like last summer, for example, couldn't go out on the boat because there was a drought. And the drought meant that the River Skell was dried up. You know how I said it can go from very high to very low very quickly. It's dependent on how much water it has, obviously. Canals are fed by reservoirs or rivers, but the Ripon Canal is fed, as far as I know, primarily by the River Skell. And they dammed it up here to divert something or other. But now there's a section of the River Skell that runs down here and one that runs the other side. It didn't always used to be like that, that fella was saying. So he loves it. Angus is a swimmer. You believe it or not, he didn't always like to swim. I mean, he really would be scared getting in. It took him a long time. It took us about 18 months to get him to the point where he'd free swim. Like this now, he'd be going, ooh, not actually getting in. But now he loves it. You can't keep him out. We used to have a game where we collect sticks. Good boy. Okay. All right, boy, come on. Work it out. Angus. This way. Go back. Go back. Angus. I'm trying to get him to go left. Good boy. Good boy. And I'm pointing to the left. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. This is somewhere we come all the time, but it's absolutely beautiful. Really would love to see a kingfisher. Maybe we'll see one. Sun shining through the trees. Summer solstice. Some would say downhill from here. I like to be more optimistic than that. Obviously this is the longest day, so technically they're shorter from here on in, but not noticeable for some weeks. But it does always seem to come so quickly. And let's go. Yes. And yes. Where's your ball? Do you know much about the history of this place? Wath?
Especially, I don't think we've between us, we've been here years and years.
Yeah, I've been looking into the army camp and what it used to be. Sorry about that. Away. Do you know much of it?
There's a little fact just round there about the army camp.
Yeah, so I was intrigued because
well, there's two army camps. There's like a TA camp and a normal army camp up until about 10 years ago. They were shut.
in World War One they had this was all covered, wasn't it?
All this here.
Angus.
Further up, where you go across the other little stone, and the other little bridge up there, that's where the rest of the Irish people used to be.
Ah.
But now everything's overgrown, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine now, isn't it? You know, you just walk through a place and you don't think about the history. Oh, did they?
I can't remember that bit, but
How many years have you been here then, you say?
yeah, well, my mum's lived here since 1946 something.
Oh, really? What's the earliest memory you have of Ripon?
So you won't remember the war, will you?
Remember rationing?
Oh yes, I remember that was after the war as well. So
Stopped in
it was on for quite a while after the election.
in the 50s, wasn't it?
No, actually, when I was born in 1965.
All right, okay.
I don't remember the gas mask, but I know my husband, he's gone now, but he's older than me, and he can remember wearing the Mickey Mouse masks.
Ah, really?
You know,
Oh, wow.
he remember wearing
It's fascinating. Well, thank you. Anyway, what were your names?
Paul Barrett and Rose Barrett.
Rose Barrett. And thank you for that. Good boy. Good boy. Just speaking to nice gentleman lady there, mother and son, and the mother's been here since 1946. I think it was her brother, she was saying, remembers the Mickey Mouse gas masks. Thanks, Angus. We'll find it. He's lost the ball. But yeah, very interesting. Good boy. Good boy. Talking of robins. So the guy before was saying about the fairy tanks. Apparently it was called fairy tanks, and that's why these are called the fairy steps. The fairy tanks that used to come up here, and they needed a way of getting the tanks up. And so they created this staircase, which is now used by visitors. And this handrail is quite new in the last few weeks, actually. But as you see beside me, there's some grooves. And this will have been used to place the wheels in, I believe. And then the person stands and pushes. There's a sign here. Angus, where's your ball? Wath Local Nature Reserve. These steps are known locally as the fairy steps. Nobody knows why, but perhaps the shallow steps seem suited for tiny fairy feet. The truth is that these steps may have been designed for hooves. Angus? Designed for hooves. Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it, if there was the grooves there? But you can see here, it looks a bit more rudimentary. So, steps were built during the First World War when Wath was part of the largest army camp in Britain. At the time, men and mules carrying heavy supplies needed easier access up and down this hill between the bridge and the huts at the top. So those huts at the top of here. And then we have another picture. The old postcard above shows the steps before the current ferry steps were built. It must have been hard going. And so here we have a map of it. And then again, another picture. I'll take a nettle sting. I don't mind nettle stings actually. Quite enjoy the sting at times. They say it's good for arthritis as well, you know. Anyway, there they are. So these are the structures. So there was over 2,000 of these structures out in the open space up there. So those structures will have been where the men trained and where they slept. And it says here, at its peak, the army camp covered 5 square kilometres, and it housed the 42,000 men that I keep mentioning, the 10,000 horses, and the 2,000 temporary huts. 1.5 million soldiers passed through. You wonder where I get my numbers from, right? 1914 to 1919. One of them, here we go, was a famous war poet, Wilfred Owen. The camp had its own bank. It had its own hospital. I didn't know this. And it even had its own university. Oh. Ruins here include a bomb store and a water pumping station. It must have been like another city within a city. Ripon is classed as a city, by the way. It's a very small city, but it doesn't feel like a city. It's beautifully quiet and quaint. There was another fella saying, I think I've got it in the audio actually, but he was saying that 14 pubs have closed. So that must have been a big part of, well, we know it's a big part of Ripon's culture. You know, I spent a long time feeling frustrated with the UK and feeling like there is no culture in the UK, but as I grow older, I realise that there is culture. And it is an amazing place, the UK, really. We've got such a variety of history. You can drive for 1 hour and get different accents, get completely different architecture, completely different history. And you can go 4 hours and, well, the difference is vast again. There's something to see at every turn. Take Ripon, for example. Stone's throw away, you've got York, you've got Harrogate, you've got Knaresborough. There is so much history in those places alone. So Angus is carrying his dummy, I believe we call that. Seems quite happy with it. He's a good boy. So the Ripon Navigation, 1820. Ripon Navigation, 1820. Level of Scale Crook Dam, 7 feet below this mark. Dam, not an M, not an N. So 1820, well, the canal was built before then, so what the hell is this all about? Angus, where's your ball? I wonder why he's carrying it like that. He prefers that now. He used to carry it horizontally. Yes. That ball. Angus likes the rabbits. He prefers to have a look at the rabbits. Steam box. Wonder if there's anything in it. You know what? I would love to know where the the bank was, where the university was, where the doctors was in this city within a city. These 42,000 men. Maybe some locals know. The locals I've spoken to so far seem very knowledgeable about the local history. Wish there was more signs. Good boy, come on in, get it. Go get it. Good boy. You haven't nicked. Hey, hey, hey. Ready? Yes. This is a sign I've been looking for. Wath Local Nature Reserve. It says, meadows, hedgegroves, river scale, peer into the pond, scramble over logs. The reserve is alive with wildlife, so take a quiet moment to listen to bird song, to smell a flower, smell the garlic. So scan here for a trail route. That's okay. Look out for the remains of a First World War soldiers camp in the woods too. So we could have probably found that. 400 species of plants. And here, this is what we're really interested in, right? The Ripon Army Camp, who worked at Wath. It's hard to imagine now, but thousands of soldiers once worked here. Wath was part of a huge army base during World War I. Before that, farmers grazed cattle here. And you can see that, to be honest, can't you? And this land belonged to Fountains Abbey estate. After the war, Ripon Racecourse took over this site, while a nearby gravel quarry employed local men. So this says Sports Day at Ripon Camp, 1917 to 1918. So this was coming to the end of the war, but they were still training up young men. And we have in the corner a teepee type tent. Soldiers spectating upon a gentleman in a striped shirt and 3 gentlemen in white t-shirts running some kind of race. We have the traditional, I don't know what these things are called, but these boots see a lot with World War I soldiers. And this 1917, wow, so long ago. Yet there they are in the same place, the building behind here. And this is from a King's Own Regiment Museum Trust. What would it have been like on that sports day? Would it have been at this time of year? How were the men feeling? By 1917, did they know more about the horrors? They didn't have Instagram, they didn't have WhatsApp then. Their mates wouldn't have texted them pictures of the horrors. Maybe they knew from letters. Maybe they knew from the press. Or maybe they were unaware. Hard to imagine. But this is where it all happened. So that concludes our tour of Wath in Ripon. Great place to come and visit, not just for a dog walk. The dog will love it, but you will as well if you like history and nature. What a good combination that is, because there's plenty of it here. So from Angus and I, farewell, and we'll see you on the next one.